My friend Joy. Joy, there is so much going on right now. You are the one person that I definitely needed to talk to. So much, so little time. I'm going to jump right into it.
Yes.
So Joy, listen up.
Michael.
The FBI, and I know all about this, they raided John Bolton's home and his office. A man who went from Trump's national security advisor, I was once Trump's personal attorney, to one of his fiercest critics. I'm not so sure I would call myself the fiercest, but I would certainly say I've been critical. What does it say when Trump's DOJ is again using law enforcement to crush even former insiders who have turned on him?
I mean, first of all, Raja Krishnamurthy, the congressman from Illinois, went on CNN and said he believes that the timing of this raid has to do with the fact that today is the day that the Department of Justice was required to produce the Epstein files and Epstein information to Congress, which is something that the Speaker of the House is trying to avoid and Trump is trying to avoid. So he believes the timing is suspicious, and also it's a good distraction from the economy and, his humiliation by Vladimir Putin. But I think what it says in a bigger picture is that Donald Trump is, as your book was titled, out for revenge against anyone who has pointed out his failures, who has pointed out the threats he has posed to our national security, which John Bolton has been all over talking about, the threats from Russia, the threats of capitulating on Ukraine. He's been really vocal about it. And so what's the best revenge for Trump? To do something to his former staffer that happened to him. His house got raided. And for the same reason, the FBI is claiming they were looking for classified documents and they're investigating him. And this seems like a joke to me when I say it, Michael. They're investigating him for potentially hoarding and disclosing classified materials in the book that he wrote in 2020. Like what? Didn't Donald Trump steal classified data and put it in his bathroom? Like, what is happening?
Well, yeah. I mean, so look, I watched and I saw Raja Krishnamurthy. I saw his interview. I don't believe that any of this has to do with the Epstein files. First of all, I'm not even aware whether they actually gave them anything yet. I heard that they were turning over a bunch of redacted documents that had already been scrubbed crystal clean. I'm not so sure that that's what it's about. I do absolutely agree with you that what this really is, as my second book is titled, Revenge, how Donald Trump weaponized the United States Department of Justice against his critics. In fact, it's the topic of my Substack that I wrote, which was Trump's enemies list is now the docket. This to me was nothing more than Trump, who had turned around and said during the campaign, I am your retribution. He wasn't fucking around when he said, those people who have done me wrong. Let's just talk about John Bolton, Miles Taylor. Let's talk about people like Adam Schiff or Letitia James or Alvin Bragg. There's a whole list. And we know there's a whole list because even Kesh Patel made an enemies list in his book.
Put it in his book.
What Trump is doing is he's following through on yet another campaign promise. It's actually a promise that I think we as American citizens wish he wouldn't, but he turned around and he said, I will get my retribution. I will be this country's retribution to all of these bad actors that have done wrong by him. I don't think this has anything to do with the Epstein file.
Well, and the one thing I will disagree with you on there is I don't think that he even sees it as retribution on behalf of his supporters. This is personal. I think for Trump, and I don't, him, I don't, but my read on Trump, my one Trump book my read on him is that everything is personal. He doesn't give a damn about his supporters. You've said this, and I believe that. I think it's personal, deep-seated rage at the fact that his house was raided. The fact that Mar-a-Lago got raided, he cannot get past it. And if he could raid Jack Smith's house tomorrow, and if he could raid even the former attorney general, who was one of the most lame attorney generals who did absolutely nothing to hold him accountable and took so long, if he could raid his house, Obama's house, Hillary Clinton's house, he would do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, and don't think for a second that that's not happening, including like James Comey and others. All right. Let me be crystal clear, and I've heard it from insiders. This one is just the beginning. It's what I had warned everybody about. When I said a moment ago that it's the retribution as he explained to the crowds at his rallies. That's what I was referring to.
Mm-hmm.
You are spot on, Joy. This is personal to him.
Yeah.
Not personal as far as raiding Mar-a-Lago. That bothered him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what bothered him more was that they would dare to even do it. And not the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago, that they would dare to accuse him of something and hold him accountable. That's what it's all about. And he is now pulling out every single tool in the presidential toolbox to fuck up every single person who has wronged him. And his feeling is, well, I don't have to do it all at once. I could do a sweeping 30, 40, 50 person FBI raids on homes and offices and so on. No, I got 3.5 years to do it and longer. So when I was saying, you're right, it's personal to him, but it's also he wants to show his MAGA base.
Mm-hmm.
I told you I was going to do it, and you believed me, and now I'm doing it. And he says this often. It's not about me. I'm doing it for you.
Right. And they believe it.
They do. So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, if you look at what's happening already, he's already having the Justice Department. And when I say he's having, I don't believe for 10 seconds Pam Bondi has a mind of her own. She just does whatever Trump. He sends her a memo every morning what to think, and she thinks it, right? So they're going after Letitia James already, hunting for ways to investigate her. I'm quite sure all of the judges who've ruled against him will suddenly find themselves under ethics investigations. I 100% believe, as you do, I believe that Adam Schiff is on his target list, and he knows because the Supreme Court messed up when they gave him that blank immunity. That immunity also applies to Joe Biden and Barack Obama. So he knows, maybe, I don't even know if his brain works well enough for him to understand that he cannot lock up Barack Obama and Joe Biden, but he's damn sure going to try to lock up everyone else who's ever irritated him in any way. And believe me, when Barack Obama told that joke about him in 2011, he'll never forget it. And if he could put him in jail too, he would. He just can't.
Let me say this on that point. He's going to succeed. I went on MSNBC on with Ali Vitali, and I said
Isn't it called MS Now? I don't think it's called
MS Now, MS Yesterday, MS I don't give a shit. I just went on because Ali asked me to. So here's the crazy thing. He's going to succeed. And everybody's turning around saying, oh, he can't do that. There's statute of limitations issues on this. This person has prosecutorial immunity. This one has this. Let me be very clear. They're talking about a playbook from 5-10 years ago. The playbook today is very different than any playbook that anybody has ever seen in this country. Now, I've seen it. I've seen how we used to do things at the Trump org. What he has done is he has put them on steroids. And these son of a bitches are benching 500-600 pounds like it's nothing. And they are succeeding. So when I turned around and I was saying to John Bolton, you best lawyer your ass up, my friend, and it's not going to make a difference, because I guarantee you there's a document in the house. There's a manuscript in the house. There is an email, on the computers, either in the house or the office. And they will use that. They will indict him, and he will suffer the same way that I did. You are up against a machine that is so big, so strong, so powerful that there is no way to avoid it. And that is what the plurality of Americans ended up voting for.
Probably including John Bolton. I mean, the irony is that all of these Republicans who think that they're safe. I mean, Marco Rubio's okay for now, but if he pisses off Trump at some point, he could be a target. Because the thing about autocracy and autocrats is they are loyal to no one but themselves. His only loyalty is to the money he's putting in the bank, the fact that he's now a billionaire. He's grifting and stealing and committing a crime a day, and he never wants that to end. He's never going to leave. And I think you're absolutely right. He's Vladimir Putin. And the corruption is a really core part of it, but the cruelty is the other part, right? The way that you get people to not stand in the way of your corruption is you just lock people up every so often. You show your strength. You show that I wield the power of the state. There is no Department of Justice. There is no FBI. There's only Donald Trump. Donald Trump controls the FBI. Donald Trump controls the DOJ. He controls the Treasury Department. He decides if you get audited. He decides if you're a citizen. We're getting to the point now where Donald Trump is usurping for himself the power to decide if either of us are even citizens anymore. And and I'm with you. He's going to use that power to the maximum ability, because who's going to stop him? John Roberts? John Roberts doesn't care. As long as John Roberts gets whatever Leonard Leo asked him to get, he could give a damn if our democracy falls. He's a monarchist. So I don't see, I mean, they just overturned his $586 million fine that he owes the state of New York. They were like, yeah, he doesn't have to pay that. This dude is above the law.
Yeah. You know, as I wrote in my Substack if there's one thing that I've learned about President Trump, and God knows I've learned it the hard way, it's that he never forgets a grudge. He nurses it. He feeds it. He waters it like a plant until it blooms into a weapon. Retribution isn't just a theme for him. It's a religion. And that's what I try to explain to people. You cannot beat this theocracy. This is so crazy. It's why this midterm 2026 election is so freaking vital. And not vital for the purpose of, oh yeah, let's impeach Trump again. I always thought that was a stupid move. I thought it was a stupid move by Democrats. Why? You weren't going to impeach him. You know, all you did is put a target on your back. All right. And I know you're not supposed to be afraid of the president and so on, but at the end of the day, Joy, you knew that you're never going to get the requisite number of votes in the Senate. So why do something that you know you can't do? That was just my thought. And let me tell you something, the retribution, it's coming, especially when you load up every single position with not competent individuals, but rather, you know,
flunkies,
supplicants, sycophants, right? That's what. So let me ask you then, because Bolton has actually been a tremendous thorn in Trump's side since publishing that book, The Room Where It Happened. Do you see this raid as a legitimate national enforcement, a national security enforcement, or do you think it's a political shakedown just to punish dissenters?
The latter. Because first of all, no one has compromised the national security of the United States more than Donald Trump. We still don't know what was in those big, beautiful boxes that he called his precious boxes. We don't know what national security information he took. We knew some of it related to our nuclear capabilities. We don't know what he did with it. We don't know if he sold it. We don't know if he copied it or handed it to Putin. So he is the greatest national security threat in the country, and no one is a greater threat. And please don't tell me John Bolton is a greater threat. And then secondly, his Secretary of Defense had a signal chat where they were giving out the details about a military strike. So this is an organization, this regime, that does not care about national security. They don't protect national security. Donald Trump walked out of a meeting in Alaska and took a call from Putin with no one else in the room. No one's ever in the room when he talks to Vladimir Putin or when he talks to his handlers or whoever it is in Russia he's talking to. He does things that violate our national security every day. So I don't believe that there's a real case. And again, I am not a fan of John Bolton. Let me just be very clear.
Yeah, you and me both.
At all, right? He's a neocon. He's a warmonger. I believe that he would have loved to invade Iran and get us into another war in the Middle East. Not a fan, okay, at all. Yes. But, and he was, the things he said about the UN could lose 10 floors. I don't think he's a guy that I would defend. I don't feel comfortable defending him. but I'll defend him in this instance. He wrote a book about his national security, career and his experiences in the Trump administration as regards foreign affairs. He was the UN ambassador, and then he was national security advisor. So when you write a book like that, you're always going to come really close to the edge in terms of the stuff you disclose. But you also have to get that book vetted. You can't publish it until the national security, and you know this, they have to vet it. So anything that he put in his book would have been vetted by the federal government. So I find it hard to believe that he stashed national security files willy-nilly in his house. He's not Trump. Trump is the guy with the broken brain who would do that. I doubt there's stuff in his ballroom if he even has one.
Yeah. Well, I assure you, no matter what, the theme is going to play out. Mark my words on it. John Bolton is in trouble. Letitia James is in trouble. Adam Schiff is in trouble. James Comey is in trouble. Just to name a few, including Miles Taylor, is in trouble. All of them.
Jack Smith. I mean, he's waiting to come from Jack Smith.
Especially. I mean, Jack Smith shouldn't go to sleep tonight because it's 7 a.m. I wouldn't be shocked if the same thing happens to him. But it brings me to the question I really wanted to ask you, which is, if high-profile figures like a John Bolton, and like you, I don't care for him at all, but he is what he is. He's a high-profile figure with decades in Washington, and ties across the defense establishment. If he's not safe, if these folks aren't safe from these types of tactics, what warning does that send to, I don't know, to you, to journalists, to whistleblowers, former officials who still, I don't know, hold some damaging secrets maybe?
I think that the message it sends is we now live in Russia, because in Russia, there was no oligarch, no matter what their wealth and power, that was safe from Vladimir Putin. If Putin wanted your business, he wanted to take it from you, he took it from you. If he wanted to throw you in prison, he threw you in prison. No matter how prominent you were, no matter how rich you were, no matter how well you traveled and did your vacations on the Riviera, it didn't matter. When he turned on you and you were done. And that is the way Russia works, and that is the way the United States works. We are no longer, I think people, and but for you, me, and a handful of us, who are willing to admit it, right? I think people still want to believe this is normal politics and he's just a politician and it's just Republicans versus Democrats. No, at this point, it's not even R versus D. It's whether you are a believer in democracy or whether you are a believer in fascism. And fascism is winning right now. It is ruling the country right now. We have a Gestapo on the streets dragging people into unmarked vans, and we can't even verify as journalists that they are feds. We don't know if they're Proud Boys, Oath Keepers. Donald Trump released a triple murderer into the state of Texas. He is free to go because Trump said so. And he's a triple murderer. He could be in an ICE uniform tomorrow. We wouldn't know. And when you see somebody like John Bolton with, as you point out, his incredibly deep connections to the quote unquote deep state. You want to say there's a deep state? That guy's connected to it. That did not protect him, which means none of us are protected. And for journalists, they're now going to have to think twice. If I have a source, it's a national security source, and I write for the Wall Street Journal, since he's mad at Rupert Murdoch too. Do I want to meet with that source and get that information to do a story about a national security issue that regards Trump? Because one day Trump might decide to come for my source and come for me. He's also trying to break open the confidentiality that journalists typically have to be able to sue them and to open up that confidentiality and force people to disclose their sources. Trump has broken everything we understood about the First Amendment. It doesn't exist anymore. Museums have to lie about slavery if he tells them to. I've heard personal reports of people from the National Park Service who are having to lie about slavery because they are administering former enslavement, slave camps or slave plantations, or they have a house that was owned by a civil rights leader. They can't even use the normal language to describe what happened. They have to lie to tourists because they're so afraid. When you're afraid to speak in a country, you don't live in a democracy. And we don't, not at this moment.
So you think that we're Russia now?
100%. We operate the way Russia operates. And we're going to find out in 2028 if we've gone full Russia, because I don't believe Donald Trump will willingly leave office. And if he tries to stay, then we are not just Russia, but Bukele's El Salvador, where suddenly They changed the constitution to say he could be president for life. Xi Jinping in China, suddenly president for life. None of these guys ever want to leave because they're making so much money. They're getting so rich. Trump was never a billionaire until his second time being president. Now he's a billionaire, and he's never going to walk away from that money, the cash, and the power.
So we're Russia, which so хорошо, потому что я говорила по-русски, which is good. At least I have a place where
You're good.
At least I can speak a little
All I
Russian.
can say is "До свидания." That's all I got.
That's all you need to know. Listen, I want to just jump in since we're talking about this whole thing about staying in power. This Texas gerrymandering bill really has me upside down. I mean, Texas passing, one of, if not the most aggressive gerrymander bill, maybe ever, slicing up Black and Latino districts to give Republicans near permanent control and 5 additional seats, which is necessary. Are we looking at the death knell of competitive democracy in America? Because that's how I see it.
100%. The other word for fascism is in a more modern context is apartheid, which was a fascist system in South Africa. In South Africa, since Black people had no right to vote, a white voter counted for 100% more than a Black voter. And so that was the extreme that apartheid could go. But in Texas right now, per these new maps that Republicans passed, one white Texas voter counts for 3 Hispanic voters and 5 Black voters, because there is one representative for every 445,000 white Texans. There is one representative for every 1.2 million Hispanics and one representative for every 2 million Blacks. That is apartheid, because it means that if you are a white Texan, your vote literally counts more.
You ever try launching a podcast with zero experience? Well, let me tell you, it's like being tossed into a cage match with a grizzly bear, blindfolded, wearing clown shoes. I mean, when I started Mea Culpa, I thought to myself, come on, how hard can this be? Well, script writing, logos, production schedules, ad deals, and don't even get me started on the tech setup. I mean, I felt like I was decoding the damn Matrix. If only I had Shopify when I launched this beast. Shopify is the platform behind millions of businesses across the globe, responsible for a whopping 10%, you hear me? 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. And my friends, that's not hype. That's a fact. From big names like Mattel and Gymshark to folks just getting their hustle off the ground, Shopify's got their back. I mean, you want a gorgeous online store? Shopify's got hundreds of sleek, ready-to-go templates that make you look like a design god. And AI tools? Yeah, they've got those too. Writing your product descriptions, jazzing up your images, maybe even making you sound smarter than you actually are. I mean, not naming names or anything, right? I mean, need a marketing squad? Shopify's built-in tools let you hit email, Instagram, TikTok, wherever your customers are scrolling or doom scrolling. And listen, Shopify handles it all. Inventory, returns, international shipping. I mean, they are the ride or die business partner that you never knew that you needed. So if you got a big idea or even a little one and you're ready to turn that dream into a reality, head over to shopify.com/Cohen. So if you want to see less carts being abandoned, it's time for you to head over to Shopify and sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Cohen. That's Shopify, SHOPIFY.com/Cohen. One more time, that's shopify.com/Cohen.
And Michael, let me make it even worse for you, because State Representative Jolanda Jones sent me the maps they used, and the maps and the charts. What Republicans did is they went through and they very specifically and microscopically calculated how many Anglo, and this is the word they use, Anglo versus non-Anglo Texans live in Texas in each district. Then they went through and they went further and they calculated the voting propensity of the non-Anglo Texans and then tried to find ways to put low voting propensity Hispanics in the same district as high voting propensity whites. So when they create quote unquote Hispanic districts, a lot of the people in that district are 12 and they can't vote. And so you're putting, there was one, and the one I'll show you that's the most sort of egregious for it. District 19, Congressional District 19, was in the old map when the Democrats left the state to try to deny quorum. It was pretty bad what they were doing to it. They were changing District 19 a little bit. They were moving things around. In the new District 19, they changed nothing. District 19 gets to keep 100% of its original self, whereas District 9, which is where Al Green, State Representative Al Green is, loses 70% of their original voters. And then they input another Black District 18. They drop those people into District 9, smush them together. They're not even physically close to each other. They mush them together. But you go back to District 19 for a minute. District 9 is 50% quote unquote Anglo. This is not my words. This is their words, Anglo. And it's about 49% non-Anglo. But when you look at the voter propensity, which you go a little bit further down the chart, it's 53% Anglo because of the low propensity of the Hispanic vote. So they're being surgical in making sure that only white Texans get to decide the congressional delegation.
Listen, that's the power of AI. I guarantee you that to draw
100%.
this map didn't take them more than a couple of days. I mean, using the power of AI in order to then input who the voters are, mapping out every single house, it's not a complicated thing anymore, which is, by the way, why it was never done in the past, right?
Yeah.
AI has actually, I saw on that same map, there's one new district that stretches just shy of 500 miles. I'm trying to figure out how the oil guy all the way out there, which is by almost the border of Mexico, and somebody in Austin, right, a suburban guy, right, or how the suburban and the rural individuals should have the same member of Congress, the same representation, when their ideologies, their needs, their wishes, their wants are so diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
The way I just see it is, as you wrote, this is systemic
Yeah.
voter suppression. And it's, I believe, and I hate saying things like this. I hate comparing people to Nazis. I hate the sort of oversimplification of it. But this is, to me, on par with Jim Crow.
Yes, it is 100% Jim Crow because, again, they themselves made it clear in their maps and in their data that they want high propensity white voters and to be mixed in the same districts. Because remember, white voters are not the majority in Texas. Hispanic voters are. Hispanics
By the way,
40%
white voters
of
aren't
white.
the majority in the United States of America either.
Exactly. But in Texas, the the largest number of people who live there, the largest number of humans are Latino. The second largest are white, and then the third are Black. Blacks are only about 13%. But for the last 5 years or so, it was about 5 years ago that Texas became majority Hispanic. They have demographics that are not that dissimilar to California. But what they've done in Texas is an apartheid style system to say that we will draw these crazy 500 miles. But the thing that's so insidious about it is that in Texas, their constitution requires each district to have the same number of people. So they're drawing big lines around farms and empty fields and cows and stuff just to get the same number of humans in each district. So they claim that's fairness because each district is the same physical size. But if you have a district that's 500,000 people and 200,000 of them are white and they're voting age, but only 50,000 are voting age Hispanics and the other Hispanics in the district are children, then you've made it very clear that what you're doing is making a white power map. I can't call it anything other than a white power map. That's what it is.
Look, it's exactly what it is. And I got to say, the thing that I'm also upside down over is, I get it. They have managed to, on paper, using AI, mathematics, and so on, and data. They have figured out how to fuck with the map in order to achieve a goal, which is the retention of power. They also now have seen, I'm talking about the voters there in Texas. They have now seen, because all you need to do is turn on the television, read a newspaper. They have seen that this gerrymandering is going to cause a gerrymandering war. Gavin Newsom is out there. You got J.B. Pritzker is out there. We also now hear that, Ohio is going to do it. And it's
Maryland
going to
too.
be Maryland. There's going to be a gerrymandering civil war in this country. The one thing that I wish to God Ken Martin and the DNC would do, let's Joy, you and me, go into deep red Texas. A white guy, a black woman, two people who are and have been critical of the president, go into the deep red states and saying, I get it. I get it. But is this really what you want? Is this going to actually benefit you? You do understand that you are paying for tariffs. Can we at least just start with one simple fact that is undeniable? When you go to the grocery store, are you paying more for your meat today than you were 3 months ago? And the answer is yes, by 22% or more.
Yeah.
Whose fault is that? Is it Joe Biden's fault? Or is it this administration's fault? And what we're saying is, while they're looking at you as, what's the right way to describe it, as just a blip on an AI map, they already have your vote before they tell you why they deserve to have your vote. Why are we not going in there? This map bullshit only works if the people let it. And you made an incredibly, just a very insightful point, which is this is all about a white map. Is that really what you want? Is that really what you see America as? And I'm not so sure that they do.
See, my challenge to white America is that it has been enough for most of our history for most white people to just have white power. Even if they don't have white economic power or they don't get any economic benefit, the power of the invention of this thing called whiteness, because, we're all Homo sapiens. Like it isn't real. Like if we're just being honest, race is a fiction, right? But it was a fiction that was weaponized in this country because of enslavement, because of slavery. And when this thing was invented in the 1500s, it to me became the most powerful invention in all of human history. Because what you then could do is you could say to the white indentured servant, hey, you may be a servant. You may have no chance of living past age 50, but you're white. That should be good enough for you. And you can say to them, I'm not going to give you a good wage or union benefits or the ability to rise truly in society, but you're white. And that should be good enough for you. And unfortunately, a lot of white America has been groomed to believe it's good enough. I've seen some of the most devastating poverty in my life in Mississippi among Black folks. But I've also seen incredible poverty among white people in this country. If you go to West Virginia, where Bishop Barber does a lot of activism, those people are poor. They're not getting anything, but they still vote overwhelmingly for Republicans because of whiteness.
Sure, but my point is, this isn't about economics. This is about people understanding American democracy, the Constitution, and the importance that the democratic experiment that has lasted 250 years is basically hanging by a thread. Texas is actually a good example of why I really believe that if we went in there, understanding we may get booed like Elise Stefanik got booed, we may, have to leave and then go to a different district. But the beauty about Texas, when I went to Texas, The beauty is that it's so multicultural, and people who are Black and people who are white and Latino, they all work together. And, it's not like the district is solely white or solely Black or solely Latino. There is a mixture, and it's like what happened in Springfield, Ohio, when people came out, Black and white and Hispanic came out, and they said, wait, why are you attacking this Haitian community? We love them. Our favorite restaurant is John's, right? They're not eating cats and dogs. They stood up. The community stood up for these other individuals. I believe, at least I want to believe, maybe I'm tired, so I'm a little naive. I want to believe that even if they want to have a white power, a white superiority, that still doesn't mean that they want to lose America's democratic republic. And I'm not 100% sure that this Texas gerrymandering is going to succeed for the Republicans the way they think, just based upon a blip on an AI map. At least I hope so.
I hope you're right. You're much more optimistic even though my name is Joy, I'm like very not optimistic about things. I mean, the reality is I look at Springfield, Ohio in a different way. Those Haitian immigrants have largely been deported or they've left. And now Springfield is facing an economic catastrophe. Springfield right now, today, is collapsing economically because of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's attacks on those Haitian migrants, those immigrants. They're not even migrants, they're immigrants. They were legitimately there with legal visas. They've now fled, left. Those who are there are afraid to go to work. They're afraid to go to school. It has destroyed Springfield. So Trump has managed, and J.D. Vance in his home state has managed to destroy this town where, to your point, white, Black, and Latino people and Asian American were working in harmony and were very happy with what they had. And Trump wrecked it. What I hope is that the same thing that's happened in places like Texas when women's rights have been eviscerated, and then the next election comes around and they just vote the same people back in that hurt them. Georgia too. Women lost their right to an abortion. It's a 6-week abortion ban state. I'm thinking, Republicans are going to pay for that in the next election. They didn't. And so what I unfortunately have seen as the pattern is that people just continue to vote for the same people who are hurting them. And unless you can break that cycle where people can say, I can vote for a Democrat, I can bring myself, even though I'm culturally a Republican, to not vote for the same idiot who's ruining my life. That's the thing I don't understand how to break, is how do you get people to stop voting for those people?
Isn't it the answer? People like you, me, Midas Touch Network, guys like maybe even Don Lemon or Jolly Good Ginger or Lev Parnas or Malcolm Nance, to go into these communities with one single message in common. That's our DNC mistake. Unlike the Republicans, and I watched it happen for years. I watched it where every single morning they used to put out, and I'm talking about, the Trump campaign, talking points memo. And according to the email that you would receive, if you are going to be a surrogate today, these are the points you are to make. First, you praise Donald Trump for being the greatest businessman of all time. Obviously mention his intelligence and so on. Then talk about X, Y, and Z. But by the way, when you see that happening right now on television, you see whether it's Pam Bondi, you see whether it's Bessent, you see whether or not it's, it doesn't make a difference who, Caroline Levitt. They all say the same thing. By the way, not only are they saying the same thing, they say it in the same order. I mean, they are just reading off of a script. But here's the thing, since we're going to go back to Russia, very Stalinistic. The more you repeat the lie, the more the lie becomes the truth. I believe that Ken Martin is worthless. I believe that this whole fucking DNC group are worthless other than to ask you for money. And 3, 4, 5 times a day, Like
Right.
you, I'm getting the emails. By the way,
Yes.
I get them from the GOP too.
Yeah.
But I get it from the DNC every single day. 5 emails a day. Hey, donate this or that. Really? If you and I put out a video, or we go to Lincoln Project, right? And we get from them, or we get Tara Setmayer, who puts out great with her Seneca Project, puts out great. There are enough of us. And I don't want this to be an attack on Trump. It's not an attack on Trump. It's an attack on Trumpism. Because even if Trump went away tomorrow, he decided, you know what? I've just had enough. You're right. I've made over $10 billion since becoming president-elect. It's enough. I'm going to go buy a castle in Europe, maybe in Scotland, back to mom's roots. And you guys can go fuck yourselves. I'm done. And he leaves. Trumpism doesn't die. This ideology doesn't die. When you watch these members of the House and the Senate saying the things that they say, the racist, sexist, the misogynistic, the xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic, transphobic, anti-Semitic horse shit that they spew, this is not my belief what even these constituents in these gerrymandered districts want. It's just my opinion.
I mean, I hope that's not what they want, but I think for some people, they've been so groomed, to use the term, to believe. I hear people in like Maine, saying the border. It's like, you're not even near it. They're all so acculturated to this sort of paranoia that there's this rampant criminality of these savages running over the border. It is this camp of the saints thing that, Steve Bannon apparently was pitched by Stephen Miller, that they all seem to believe. And I feel like I hear that even Black Trumpers, I hear people when they say why they voted for Trump, they lead with that border thing. This paranoia about this brown invasion is so real that even some brown people believe it.
Can you explain that one to me?
Yeah, absolutely I can.
Dig into that for my listeners here.
100%.
Explain to me how somebody can literally, if you're Black, in light of everything that's going on, if you are Latino, Latinos for Trump?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Trump today, right? Trump was walking around with a hat. Trump, everything Trump says is right. I don't know if you saw that hat on his head today. How can they possibly wear that shirt when the guy whose name is on that shirt fundamentally sees you as less than a human?
I think there is, for a lot of Latinos, and I lived in Florida for 14 years, so did a lot of did journalism for a long time in that state. And what you see among a lot of Latinos is a bit of the shut the door behind me mentality that a lot of immigrants have had over the years, right? The old immigrants hate the new immigrants because they're like, oh, those people are so unseemly. Oh, they're so tacky. Oh, they're so dirty. There's this sense that when the new people come, the old people are embarrassed by them and don't want them here. Those people are poor. Those people are uneducated. I don't like them, even though they're just like me. And even though I was in that situation, I mean, I've heard and interviewed people who themselves were undocumented, who are against undocumented immigrants. So I think it's part of that shut the door behind me mentality. But as somebody whose parents were immigrants, I can tell you that among a lot of immigrants, there is this notion of seeking to become super duper American. And to become super American, part of the jump in, or I guess what would you say, the sort of acculturation of becoming super American is anti-Blackness. Anti-Blackness is a big part of becoming anti-American. It's why cab drivers who are all Southeast Asian or African or Black won't pull over for a Black person, right? They're acculturated to anti-Blackness right away when they get to this country. And then the second piece of it is this notion that by being against immigration, I'm showing you that I love America more than wherever I came from, that I'm so American that I too don't want any immigration, because the party that's the most American, the Republican Party, is the flag waving party. So whatever the flag waving party is for, I'm for.
If you're someone who values choice in your money, your goals, and your future, then you already know how broken traditional healthcare feels. One size fits all treatments, preset dosages, zero flexibility. It's like being handed a contract you never agreed to. And trust me, I've signed enough bad deals to know how that feels. But now there's another way with hims and hers. So here's the truth. For years, I lived in a world where I didn't get to make my own choices. Every move dictated, every decision made. And let me tell you, when you finally get your control back, you never want to give it up again. That's what hims and hers delivers: control over your health, your goals, and your life. They're reimagining healthcare with you in mind. Personalized care for weight loss, for hair loss, for sexual health, mental health, because no two people are the same, and pretending they are, just a lie. And I respect this. No membership fees, no surprise bills, no hidden agenda, just transparent pricing and real care you can access from anywhere. It's healthcare that finally puts you, not some faceless system, in charge. So here's the move. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/Cohen. That's HIMS.com/Cohen. It's not available everywhere. Prescription products require provider consultation. See the website for full details. Important safety information and restrictions apply.
And you see that among a lot of people who are the children of immigrants. Byron Donalds, whose family is Jamaican, comes here and he identifies with the super American Republican Party, and suddenly he's against immigrants, even though that's his own family. And I think that is a thing that happens with Black and Latino and even Asian American immigrants. There is this sense that to identify and be so American with my deep accent and all these things, if I'm with the super American flag waving party, then I will be seen as American too. And then I think the third part of it is economic. A lot of young Black and brown folks just believe Trump would put more money in their pockets. It was just as simple as that for a lot of people.
Well, look, now you got Gavin Newsom out there trolling Trump.
Oh, I love
directly, whether it's billboards in Florida and Texas.
Yes.
They're putting ads on Fox News. They're even mocking him on social media platforms on immigration and everything else. Does this actually, in your opinion, I know people get a smile out of it, it sort of, yeah, good. You're giving him a little taste of his own medicine. But does this actually chip away at Trump's narrative? Or do you think it just simply fuels this culture war circus that we're living in?
We can't get out of the circus. We're in the tent, man. So we have to just live in the circus. And I believe you have to hit back the way you're getting hit. And I think it's brilliant. The South Park, I just watched episode 3 of South Park. It's so good. And I know it's killing Trump and I love it so much. I think you have to mock a dictator. And I've talked to a lot of people who are Russians. Vladimir Kara-Murza is brilliant. And I know you've talked to him too. He's a great guy. And he says this all the time, that the more that the dictator takes themselves seriously, the more you need to mock them. And I think that's super important to show. Navalny was great at mocking Putin and not just, and laughing and showing joy and being a joyful warrior. I think you've got to do that in an autocracy. And then the second piece of it is Gavin Newsom, other than Barack Obama, is the perfect foil for Trump because he's everything Trump wants to be. He's handsome. He's young. He's actually fit the way Trump's supporters pretend that he's fit when they AI him into Superman. He actually kind of looks more like Superman. And he triggers this thing in Trump that it already existed about the Kennedys. Trump envies the Kennedys. He envies JFK. You can see him trying to deconstruct JFK's legacy, the Rose Garden that Jackie made. He wants the Kennedy Center to be named after him and Melania. He's got this whole obsession with this young, handsome president. And he's obsessed with Obama, who was also a young, handsome president. So I think because Gavin embodies the visual appeal of a younger, more handsome man who's also sharper than him, snarkier than him, can give back as well as he's getting, and can really use the same tactics against him, it's got to be killing Trump mentally. And I think even if that only gives me joy, I will take it in this moment. But I also think it's effective because it lets younger voters and voters who are very online and who are very much in the social media sphere, that makes them pay attention. It makes him win the attention economy. And the attention economy is very critical to beating back autocracy.
So do you think then that Newsom's strategy, because it is Newsom's strategy, do you think that it's signaling maybe some type of a shift inside the Democratic Party as a whole, and that maybe they're realizing now that policy alone is not going to beat Trump, and that the culture war battlefield cannot be ignored anymore?
They have to fight on that battlefield. I don't believe the party has shifted at all. I hate to say this, but I don't think the party gets it at all. I think certain individual Democrats get it. I think Gavin Newsom gets it. I think Barack Obama, who really likes Gavin Newsom, but I think most Democrats are too cautious, too old-fashioned, too married to policy and sort of nerdery, and they don't get it at all. They're just some of them. Jasmine Crockett gets it. I think Gavin gets it. There's a handful of them that get it. Gavin's just one of them. I don't believe this has changed the party at all. The party is horrible at messaging and communication. And their leadership, to me, just is not ready for prime time. They're not ready for this moment. The few of them are, like maybe 6 or 7 of them, but then not a lot more.
Well, then, unfortunately, it appears that we're all just wasting our time, because unless the party who really sort of has the command of the base, right, unless that they start waking up and understanding the problems of their old playbook, 2026 midterm elections, assuming we even have one.
Right. That's right.
The 2026 midterms are not going to go the way. Look, I don't want the midterms to go Democrat simply because it's going to fuck up Trump. I don't want it to go that way so that, articles of impeachment on day number 1, as the Republicans are saying, will take place. No, I want the 2026, the House and or the Senate to go, or both, God willing, to go Democrat in order to preserve our institution, to preserve checks and balances, to preserve our tripartite system of government, which Trump is dismantling every single day. And the best example of that dismantling is just watching, for example, the federalization of the DC police. I mean, he just unilaterally decided to federalize the DC police, all under the guise, and you brought it up before, that horrible Supreme Court decision of presidential immunity as long as for national security purpose. He federalized the DC police under the guise of restoring order and national security. Now he's openly saying that he intends to replicate this in cities like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. Joy, what do you think that America is going to look like under a patchwork of Trump-controlled police forces?
A police state. A police state. And not only he's already done it in Los Angeles, right? Put National Guard, military, active duty military on the streets of Los Angeles. He's trying to create a police state because, again, he wants to be Vladimir Putin so badly. He wants a police state. He thinks Tiananmen Square was a good day for China. And so if you have somebody who's got the attitude of a monarch, and you can't control the culture and force people to love and adore you, well, then you just oppress them. You put the police on every corner. You have every person terrified to walk outside. Trump would like to live on the ashes of the United States as long as he can be king. And unfortunately, John Roberts in the Supreme Court agrees. Not only did they say he's immune from criminal liability for anything, they also said that he can take bribes. They literally said bribery is no longer an impeachable offense and not even a crime if the president does it. So Trump is taking bribes. And Peter Thiel, who is the biggest contractor that no one ever talks about, the CIA contractor, his Palantir is a federal contractor that is unveiling a surveillance state unlike anything we've ever seen, nothing we've ever seen in the history of the United States, based on AI, based on technology. They're going to be able to surveil every American. Doge already has all of our data. They've swept up all our social security numbers, our IDs, everything. We're going to live in a surveillance state. And Americans have to stand up. And to your point about the Democrats, unless the Democrats can convince enough people, and even convince me at this point, that if they return to power in the House and the Senate, they'd actually do something about this. If I believe they're going to come back in and give parliamentary speeches, and like you said, do another impeachment that won't go anywhere in the Senate. You know, I was for impeaching Trump, by the way. I was pushing for it the first time because I'm like, I just want the stain on him, because I knew he wouldn't be convicted. They didn't have 67 votes. But I was like, put the mark on his presidency because he deserves it. And the second time, I think they had to impeach him because he tried to overthrow the freaking government. But if you're going to impeach him, fail to convict him, and then your Merrick Garland is going to fail to prosecute him for the thing he was impeached for, such that he doesn't get disqualified to run for president, then what was the point of impeachment if the Democratic controlled DOJ refused to do the thing that they did to you? You could go to jail, but Trump couldn't be prosecuted and couldn't even be indicted for 3 years, Merrick Garland. So to me, all Democrats are Merrick Garland until they prove otherwise. If you're not going to, right, if you don't come back in that house and cut that checkbook up and say, ICE, your checkbook is cut up. No more allowance, Donald Trump. No ballroom. You're not getting $900 million to make the plane fancy from Qatar because it was supposed to be free. You don't get to build a wall and paint it black. If you're not going to cut up the credit card House of Representatives, why give Democrats the power? If the Senate's not going to come in and wreck shop and actually regulate on behalf of the Constitution, then we're just giving them power just to let Chuck Schumer be happy. What's the point?
Yeah, and I don't give a shit about Chuck Schumer either. So look, Joy, the hour unfortunately goes by too quick because I got about 1 billion more questions for you. But I want to ask you this. Given your long view on race and justice in America, if Trump continues to federalize the police force nationwide, what do you think that's going to mean for communities of color? What do you think it's going to mean for civil rights and the very future of protest in this country?
I think that you will not see protests on the like that you saw in the civil rights movement or the Black Lives Matter movement under a police state, because the threat of being shot dead in the streets will be very real. We just saw in the state of Texas that when those Texas Democrats came back, they were fitted with police minders who could follow them home, who could follow them to church, who could follow them to their children's schools, and who had to be with them 24 hours a day. And when one of them, Al, was doing a brisk walk in the morning and her minder couldn't keep up, he threatened to arrest her. We used to have a Fugitive Slave Act in this country, 2 of them in the Constitution, which meant that every Black person was under constant surveillance. I do believe that we are going back to that time. Donald Trump wants to put every Black, brown, gay, lesbian, trans, but also any white person who is not with him under surveillance. And if white Americans don't believe they're going to be under surveillance too, because white conservatives will be under surveillance as well. And the moment you cross him, you will catch the kind of hell John Bolton is catching. I fear that Black folks are always the leading indicator of the pain that dictators and fascists want to put on people, as are Jewish folks and Muslims, right? The 3 of us, we're in the bucket every single time. So if you are, we know we're going to catch it first, and we know Latinos are also unfortunately now in that bucket with us. I believe Black folks are going to catch hell. I believe brown folks are going to catch hell. I believe that Donald Trump, all his bullshit about anti-Semitism, he doesn't care about Jewish people. They're going to catch hell. And so are Muslims, and so are anybody who's not with him. This is going to be a bad, I don't even know how many years, because I don't think we're getting rid of him 28. No,
you and me both. Joy, thank you. Thank you for helping just to put another little peg into this, into this map of confusion and chaos. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Always great to be with you, even in these awful times.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
Stay safe, my friend.
Thank you.